Life is such a fragile thing. This momentary and perfect balance of body, spirit, and soul is both a blessing and a curse. Remove or compromise but one, and life is no more. Yet does the zombie suffer, stripped of soul? Does the wraith mourn its long-forgotten body? This is a curse only of the living, this knowledge of ourselves. For knowledge engenders fear. Fear of what might await us.
Hi guys, it's Andrew from Andrew Willis Miniatures, and today we're doing a video about something that's actually not miniatures related entirely. One of the main reasons I enjoy painting miniatures is I really enjoy Dungeons and Dragons. And recently I got this in the post. The Ultimate Bestiary, the dreaded Accursed by Nord Games. Yeah, it popped up on my Kickstarter. Well, it was advertised, and I saw it, and it was essentially a bestiary entirely for undead. I mean, I love undead. Like, love them. Any chance I get to throw undead at my party, fantastic. Every time. So yeah, it looks pretty. It's chunky. But what's inside? The first thing you get is a forward, of which that... Not sure whether it was cringy or actually pretty good. Intro that I did is actually the first half of the forward. From there, basically, you get everything sorted into subcategories, so you get straight in to ghosts. Also, check out the artwork. Look at that. That's some beautiful, almost like Dark Souls inspired artwork. Love it. That piece, one of my particular favourites. Sorry, I'm a bit stuffy today. So yeah, we go straight in with every enemy type. Well, every subcategory of enemies, like every subcategory of undead, has a section on its origins, on where they would inhabit, like environment, a bit of lore. A section on role-playing them, which a lot of bestiaries don't really cover the role-playing aspect of enemies, so like their mentality, so they might do something that isn't necessarily strategically intuitive, but it's what they would do. There's cool encounter tables which mix up different things. They're more like story-driven encounters. So each one has an actual title which immediately gives you ammunition for a story hook. They don't just go 5 of this enemy or 2 of this enemy, and they mix it up. There's one that I really like, Tragic Siblings, in the ghost bit, which is a lingering waif, which is a kid ghost basically, and a haunted doll, which is in the animated, well, it's in the other section at the end. So like from 2 different sections of the book. God, this sniff is killing me. So yeah, each subsection, each subgenre of undead, like, the ghosts, you have a large section of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different ghosts in there. So that gives you a lot to play with. Each section of the book also has like a... But except for the ghosts, I believe, have like a sort of like CR1 version of the basic version of that enemy, and then like a CR4, CR5 version as well. So like, say your skeletons, you could have... I prefer zombies, actually. Let's play with zombies. You could have zombies designed for a low-level party. They're dealing with a small zombie plague, riddling a village or something like that, and they're only level 3 adventurers, and they go in taking on handfuls of CR1 or CR half zombies. But then later on, the party might wind up with a lich, some arch-lich badass that they've got to go fight, who might also have zombies wandering around his turf. At which point, you get a level 20 party running through CR half zombies. There's no point even running the encounter unless you've got like 50 of the buggers, and then you're going to be running the encounter all night. So why not chuck some CR4 zombies at them? You know, they still run the same, they just have more health, do more damage. So that's nice that they've sort of catered to all levels. Like, all levels can still have similar encounters. But yeah, so your subsections, you got your ghosts, then you got your ghouls and ghasts, of which is cool. They've got different, like, sort of, they kind of remind me of Left 4 Dead. You know, you've got a spitter ghoul, you've got a sort of like stalker type ghoul, you've got one that's essentially the tank from Left 4 Dead. Is, you know, but it's cool. You get different, like, sub breeds of ghoul, like different levels of corruption type thing. You also get a sophisticated ghoul who, like, you know, they're a bit more human and a bit less devolved. And you got your whole thing on ghasts afterwards. The only piece of artwork I don't like in the book is the ghast warlord. Just saying. But then after that, you've got liches, of which I really like the lich section. I mean, they've taken the idea of liches and then they've gone, here's a load of different types of lich. And if you want them to be a demi-lich, like all their bodies like deteriorated and stuff and they've become a demi-lich, just add this to that starter area and that set of rules, and it will work for a demi-lich instead. But they've also split into apocryphal liches, blight liches, and profane liches, and there's, I think, 5 different levels, like, you know, so you could have like low difficulty ones up to like high end of campaign ones. But there's 3 different ones, like 3 different types of lich within that. Also, check out this guy. That's one of the blight liches. I love it. That artwork is beautiful. From liches, I believe you move on to mongrel folk, is it? No, lycanthropes, of which they go pretty deep dive with lycanthropes. They have bits on suppressing lycanthropy, different types of lycanthrope. They also have a section on turning things into lycanthropes. So any small or medium humanoid can be a lycanthrope with this set of additional rules, which is really cool. From lycanthropes, then you got mongrel folk, which was a really cool stretch goal that unlocked during the Kickstarter. They're basically magical experimentation on animals and humans. Think The Fly. That's the, like, yeah. Like, look at that and then tell me you don't see something that's basically The Fly. It's great. But again, like, you've got different levels of mongrel folk. Most of them are very weak, but then they are very weak. But there's also a massive, like, D4 to D20, so it's like D4 across, D20 down, that spans over 3 pages, chart for mongrel folk mutations, which is fun because it means you've got a lot more that you can play with immediately there. You can expand on mongrel folk. Next is mummies, of which I would say never subject your party to, because most mummies tend to be in a crypt or something like that. You go down there, you wind up with all these traps, you wind up in this tomb that it's going to take you days to get out of, and then probably days to travel to the nearest settlement. If you don't have somebody that can cure curses and somebody gets mummy rot, they're taking 7 max health damage every time, every 24 hours, and that is going to kill one of your party members, if not all of them. If your party are masochists to the nth degree, go for it. But there is a full bit on mummy rot and like a lot of different kinds of mummies. There's even like mummified animals. A lot of the mummies are interesting in that there's like royal assassin type mummies, like people that have been entombed, probably one would think against their will. Then there's like guardians that were buried with said king, pharaoh, emperor, whatever. There's court priests, and then there's the actual anointed king, which is the mummy, you know, the big guy. And then there's mummified animals, mummified creatures, a baboon, a hound, snakes, a ptericodile, which is a crocodile, base cat, bull, a ptericosphinx. There's all sorts of cool shit with that. next is Revenants, one of my just straight up favourites when it comes to undead, because Revenants, they retain who they were, albeit a bit more corrupt, a bit more dark and brooding, and they're dead, basically, they're dead. But they are basically out for revenge. You cannot kill them until they get the revenge, basically. They will just keep going and going and going unless they fail to kill somebody, at which point they devolve into something much more horrific, of which there is covered in the book as well, a failed revenant. These guys are fantastic because they open up so much roleplay. They are characters. They're not just mindless, shambolic hordes. They're not just generic run-of-the-mill, I'm evil. They are genuine people that have been wronged. Anybody who plays League of Legends, think Callista. They're not always evil. They're not always good. But, you know, you could easily get a good revenant that the party might work with to get their revenge against somebody horrific, somebody who did something horrific to them and deserves it. Like, you know, deserves the revenge. You might also wind up with a bitter, twisted individual who gets killed by some holy paladin who wants revenge just out of bitterness, who the party might have to protect said paladin from repeatedly because the things are relentless. But there is a lot of story that you can play with when it comes to revenants. Following that, you've got shadows. They're shadows. They're like, I haven't read too much into them, but I'm assuming they're sort of like curses, or they're like darkness manifest. They latch onto a person and slowly suck them dry. Yeah. You know, they suck the life force out of them, like, over time. So that, it's not something I've really considered, but reading this might sway me over to doing something with them as well. From there, skeletons. The skeleton section is amazing. There's more than one encounter table for different challenge ratings. There's warrior, soldier, veteran. They are all your melee, sword and shield skeleton at different degrees, like different CRs. Then you've got your infantry, your piccaneer, and your pike master. Spearman, different difficulties. Archer, marksman, sharpshooter. Bowman, different difficulties. Then you've got your hill giant, your minotaurs, different ones. You've got your dragons, and then you've got your skeletal animals, including the skeletons. The skeletons. It's such a bad pun, and I love it. Then your bone constructs, so your bone horror, your war titan, big skeletal things made of bone and probably bits of wood for a bit of flavour, you know, like wooden struts. That's just how I'd do it. From there, spectres, which spectres are very, well, in ways different to ghosts. They're more like a manifestation of evil itself. Ghosts have, like, personality to some degree. Spectres are just chaotic evil. Like, nasty bastards, really. But they go from, like, your generic dem dudes to spectral dragons, spectral ravens. Like, that's something, again, I'm not really considered playing with, but I will give it a look. Vampires, my favourite, are next, of which vampires create so many different roleplay scenarios. But again, you got your fledglings, you got your different hierarchy, your fledglings, your night stalkers, your ancient vampires, this, that and the other, your nobles. You also have Dhampirs, which are the Vampire Hunter D inspired half-breed. You know, the ones that have less of the strengths, but also less of the weaknesses. There's also, like, quite weak vampires in here, which is nice because not everybody's ready for a CR 15 vampire noble. Though they should be. I also like that no matter how far up the chain you get with vampires, they still suffer their weaknesses. To the most part, the ancient ones don't have their weakness to running water, but they also have, like, different. sitting on my foot, I was going to sleep. They have different, depending on the, let's say, age of the vampire, things that they can transform into. Like, they start off at mist, then they go to bats, then they go to wolves, then they go to abomination, which is, you know, your typical big bat wing. And then there's things about turning things into vampire archetypes, so long as it is humanoid. So you could have, like, vampiric goblins, you know. The whites are next. Whites, yeah, they're what everybody knows and loves, but there's more variety to them. There's different different difficulty tiers. Yeah, I haven't looked into them much, but it basically looks like you could form an army of them. Like, they seem a lot more militaristic. Also slightly Game of Thronesy, you know, if you like your Game of Thrones White Walkers. And you got Will-O-Wisps, which there's only 3, but they're ghost flames basically. They're just little orbs of flame. But there's 3 different difficulty tiers of Will-O-Wisp, which is cool because last thing you want is to have your party lost in the middle of a swamp somewhere and not have any Will-O-Wisps that are worth throwing at them, or worth leading them out into the bog and drowning them. Then you've got your wraiths, which are more your neutral evil ghosts, although you get, like, neutral good wraiths as well, like bright wraiths, which are... Yeah, the wraiths is a fun bit. I'm really going to have to give this book a bit more of a read. I've only read, like, the first few sections. I've only had it for a couple of days. Where were we? My camera decided it was going to stop midway through, because it's being shit. Excuse my language. So from wraiths, we go to zombies, of which, again, like the skeletons, they have the CR half to CR6, and then you got your CR9 to CR22 chart, which is ace. But you got your human zombies, your plague-born humans, your human plague hosts, and it goes on like that. You've got, like, elf and dwarf as well, and, like, orc, goblin, I believe, hobgoblin, but, like, regular versions, plague-born versions, plague host versions. But yeah, it goes dwarf, goblin, hobgoblin, orc, ogre. So ogre zombies, hell yeah, I'm game. Troll zombies. I never actually considered that trolls have regeneration. Do they still have it in here? No, troll zombies don't regenerate as well. They've got zombie dragons, always good. But then you've got zombie dogs, zombie ox, zombie horse, bears, rats. You know, you've got loads of different animals again. Then you got a whole section on zombie archetype. So turning the stuff that's not in here into zombies. Great. Also, a thing about plague swarm infestations as well as a little bonus extra rule thing. Then what are the appendixes? Of which animated objects. So you got your dolls, armour, bloody hell, a lot of animated armour. Stagecoach, scarecrow, you know, flying swords, stuff like that. You know, all the typical sort of... I want to say a lot of it would fit right in Scooby-Doo, but, like, in the best way. You've even got, like, weird stuff like a Shabty and little toy soldiers, and which would be really meta to have your miniatures on a tabletop be attacked by miniatures on a tabletop. Also, the ghost ship is going to be so cool to use at some point, like a sea battle would be ace. Appendix B, really, I didn't expect this. I think I must have missed that memo on the Kickstarter, but I'm really happy to have it. Monstrous classes. You have got the means to play liches, to play lycanthropes, carrying on with lycanthropes, still on lycanthropes, because there's lots of different variants, ability to play vampires, and then you've got player races. They aren't races, they are classes, like full-blown class. You play races, you got the awakened dead, so they're like zombies or skeletons that actually have all of their faculties still intact. To the most part, they are self-aware undead. Which I've actually played one before, homebrewed, a self-aware zombie. One of my mates played a necromancer. My character died. He used necromancy to resurrect my character as a zombie. Used an item that was a bit too powerful for him to control, and I turned up and I was like, shit, I'm a zombie. And every time he tried to command me, I gave him the finger and shot somebody. Not that you should necessarily shoot somebody every time somebody tries to command you to do something, but it was fun. Other races are, you can play ghasts, so playing a cannibal is kind of fun in itself. Playing a weird mutated cannibal, just a step further. Playing mongrel folk, which I don't know why anyone would intentionally play a mongrel folk, but some people out there like creating very interesting characters. You can play a white, which is cool. There's also a player template for becoming a ghost and a player template for becoming a revenant. So if your character dies, you might wind up having a conversation with a GM where they decide to make you a ghost or a revenant instead of you being resurrected, which is always fun. Appendix C is a series of lovely creature lairs for all those encounters that, you want to quickly get out. And I would say, obviously, you can't use them straight from the book. You'd have to scan them, print them, blow them up a bit if you want to just lay it on a table. But if you want to use theatre of the mind, they're great. If you want something as quick reference on gridded dry wipe sheets, they're great. Obviously, you couldn't just wipe the book down and play on that unless you were using models with 5mm paces, but nevertheless, they're really cool. The dungeon-like ones, take this one, would be easy enough to theatre of the mind as well. You wouldn't necessarily have to draw that out for your players. You could just describe it as they go through it, which is good because then they need to draw it out themselves and remember where they've been. Then you've got your index of creatures in alphabetical order, then creatures in challenge rating order, which, thank God, they've got creatures in challenge rating order. It's so easy to just sort of go through and go, right, I'm going to use that, and that. That's okay for the party. How about it? And then at the back, there's just a legal disclaimer, because it's a book designed for 5e that's not by wizards, so you have to put a legal disclaimer in. Because, fuck wizards. But yeah, so that is the dreaded Accursed. It is an absolute beautiful book. It's chunky, it's got so much content in it. The artistic design in it is 95% absolutely stunning. The other 5%, meh. But, 95% stunning is pretty damn good. The amount of extra stuff that I didn't realise you got, like the player races, the player classes, stuff like that, that's just, that just made my day when I had a flick through when the book first arrived in the post, and I had a quick skim through it, and I saw that. Oh Lord, I really want to play a Revenant now. But yeah, all in all, from what I've seen of it, I mean, I've still got some reading to do. There's absolutely nothing more I could want from it. Art's fantastic. The variety of creatures is fantastic, even though they're all undead. They are so varied. The mechanics of the creatures are really good, really intuitive gameplay. It makes it exciting, makes it interesting. The lore is fantastic. There's also these little snippets of lore and fluff, one from some of them from a gazette, some of them from the documentation of a hunter of the undead, documenting his findings on these different creatures. But yeah, also the print quality and the actual like design quality of the book, it is like absolutely fantastic. So there's straight up the 5 things I would look for: design, bang on; art, bang on; gameplay, bang on; lore, bang on; and what was the other thing? Oh yeah, variety, bang on. You can actually pick it up on Nord Games' web store at the moment as well if you want to get your own copy. I believe they're selling the PDFs currently, and once all the backers have got their hardback versions of the book, I believe then the book will go to retail. Not 100% on it. I don't work for Nord Games, so I wouldn't know entirely, but I do believe the PDF is for sale now. I think it's like $25. Don't quote me on that. I haven't got the page up at the moment on my computer, but take a look. They also do other books, like they've done one that's all about like orc hordes, goblin hordes, ogres, stuff like that. They've done one on traps, they've done one on NPCs. So whatever tickles your fancy, take a look at Nord Games. I know I'm going to be buying more than just that book off them because that really impressed me, so I will be buying more. But yeah, check out Nord Games. I think I'm going to do more videos like this as well, so, if you want to see more of those, feel free to subscribe. For the love of God, please click the like button. Like, so many people watch the videos and then no one clicks like, and it really stuffs me on other people seeing the videos. So, it doesn't take much effort to just go. So, yeah, cheers for doing that in advance. Fuck me, that was cheesy. Have a nice day, guys, yeah? Take care. Peace.
Beyond the reach of death, perverse and profane, they watch, they wait, and grow hungry. So search for them if you must, but beware, for far worse fates than death await.